Welcome to picks 21 through 37. Now, what's interesting is I did the video for picks 1 through 20, and it's stuck in what I call processing hell, where it's just sitting there stuck in processing. It's been there for like half an hour. Happens with YouTube sometimes. It's on the server side. As long as it's processing, it means it's already uploaded from my computer. Nothing more I can do with it. It's on their end. So, picks 21 through 37, don't expect the same amount of views for this as we're going to see for picks 1 through 20, because 1 through 20 is where it's at. But there are some interesting picks. Now, keep in mind, I'm wearing Anaheim because they've got multiple picks on this board. I could have worn Ottawa as well. They have multiple picks on this board. San Jose as well. So I had to take that into account when I was looking at who might get drafted by which team. And of course, these picks, as I'm recording this, are in flux because this is during the conference finals. The interesting thing is, I don't think it changes my prediction if these are all in different orders. I tried to make sure that, you know what, this is what I think these teams are going to be looking at, and so I went based on that and said, all right, so we're gonna do this. You just move that there. There we go. Perfect. Kind of perfect. All right. Just so that if it finishes processing, I'll see it. I'll know that it's finished processing. Oh, I should get a notice on my phone too. I don't always get that notice on my phone. So it's not just people watching the channel that don't always get notified. Sometimes I don't get the notifications, but I think notificated is a good word too. So we'll just start using that one. All right. Number 21. Columbus is first on the board. And I'm saying that they're going to be looking at a forward here. And hoping to get a steal on Jacob Perreault. Jacob Perreault has one of the best shots in the draft. One of the best shots in his draft class. The knock on him would seem to be motivation. And is he lazy? Does he? So this is one of those things where you look and you go, okay, Tortorella's our coach. We'll throw him this guy and see if he can get that motivation factor going. Because if Perreault finds that motivation and that work ethic that's necessary to survive in the NHL and thrive, he could be an excellent top six forward. And some players come through and they don't necessarily have a great working reputation, and then when they reach the NHL, they work it out. Sometimes it goes the other way, where a guy can be like, hey, he's a great worker, and then we talk about him 10 years later and go, he just never got better. He never took the steps he needed to get better. So I have Perreault at number 21. Number 22, the Rangers are back on the board. So the Rangers, with their second pick in the first round, I think they look at a forward again. And there's a reason for that. So, I mean, you could look at a defenseman potentially at that stage. But I'm going with Brendan Brisson. Smart, seen as a very creative player as well. See, and then as soon as I start a video, it finishes processing. So now it's gone live. That's all I need to do is just start a video. All right. So Brendan Brisson, seen as smart and creative. And so why is he ranked at number 22? And it's a compete level thing. So it's the shots there, the style, the play. He's got all the tools. It's just a matter of getting that compete level up. And some guys will figure that out and prove themselves to be a steal later on. So I have Brisson going to the New York Rangers. So that'd be two forwards in the first round, a left winger and a center. And that I think is likely the way they're going to go. But again, unlike the last video where I was doing the top 20, this I think is even more wide open. This is even more make up your list. I'll make up mine and we'll see what works. So number 23. Noel Gunler, who is a right winger, going to Philadelphia. He is seen to have a good shot. He's a good skater. And he's just ranked below others because of the perception that he has a lower ceiling. But this is a guy who can end up being a steal. So the ceiling is seen as being a little lower. The perception that the potential is a little bit lower. I talked about that in the last video too. Sometimes you'll just see, well, we don't think his potential is as high. So Gunler could be a steal later on. Number 24 to Colorado. And this guy goes different parts of the draft too, late teens, sometimes at the end of the first round. So Rodion Amirov, I have going 24th to the Colorado Avalanche. Hard worker. He's a scorer. He's seen as a top six guy. He does lack the physicality. So this is a guy who needs to be a little bit harder to knock off the puck and shows a little more fight back. But when you're drafting late in the first round, you're getting a guy who's an unfinished product in, I'd say, 9 out of 10 cases. So Amirov to the Colorado Avalanche, to me, makes sense because he's a good skilled forward. And I could see them maybe looking at a defenseman because at 28 I do have, at 25 I do have a defenseman. And this is a guy who I've seen definitely varied opinions on. Some saying he should go really high. We love this guy. And some saying, hey, he's not as good as Clevin. And then some saying, well, Clevin isn't even, I don't even know if I'd draft Clevin. So I have no idea. Justin Barron, defense, good stay-at-home defenseman. So I have the Capitals drafting Barron as stay-at-home defenseman. And then just he needs work overall on certain parts of his game. Again, defenseman late in the first round. You're not likely going to find a guy who's pushing for the NHL job right out of the gate. And Barron, seen as a guy who's, long term likely going to be a very good, again, stay-at-home defenseman. And you need those. And the Capitals could probably use one of those in their pipeline as well. So yeah, 25 I have that. And then at 26, so this is a guy who's been ranked really high and really low, all over the place as well. I can't see him getting past St. Louis, and that's Dylan Holloway. It feels like Holloway's slid on some of these lists where he was in the mid-teens, now he's later. So with Holloway, he has size, he's a good skater, good overall player. The knock on him was that he slid a bit due to some setbacks at college, but he was young for college. So again, for people to say, well, he struggled when he was against college players, but he's young. Right. So if he's younger and probably physically less mature than the other guys in the college ranks, again, this is a guy who's maybe slid a bit, but his rough season is easily explained and easily understood. So I have Holloway at 26, but he could be in the teens. Yes, Holloway could easily be in the teens. Depending on the rankings you look at, could be in anywhere. So again, I just went with what I think could work for these teams and what I thought they might be most likely to grab. So with Holloway there. Anaheim at 27. Keep in mind I have Anaheim at 6 taking Marco Rossi. And he's a center. And so I thought, well, at 27, with the pick they got from Boston, Jan Mysak. Mysak, right winger. So they get a center and a right winger into this draft if they went that way, and they'd add more forwards to a group that's already got Zagras coming in, Steele's up and coming. I still think Steele has offensive upside there. I think there's a lot to be optimistic about with Anaheim. Now, yes, I could see them taking a defenseman there. That being said, I think the next defenseman on the list, which would be Wallinder, I don't know that they'd take him at 27. It's possible, though. Again, I just went based on I think Anaheim could use this player. He's called the Czech version of John Jackson Paderka, and the only lacking with him is a hockey sense issue, which is vision on the ice and what are you doing with the puck and why'd you put it there kind of thing. And that, again, with the right coaching and with maturity, that can definitely turn itself around. So this is where we get into the who knows where they're actually going to fall. If the Islanders, Dallas, Vegas, and Tampa are in those orders, or in that order, because, again, we haven't finished that round yet. And Dallas right now is leading Vegas, but I thought I'm not switching them around. I don't think it necessarily changes who gets drafted where. So at 28, going to Ottawa, and I already have Ottawa picking Byfield. I have them picking Drysdale. And now at 28, I have them getting a guy who could end up being a steal for them. There's going to be somebody who says, I can't believe you had him on that late on your draft list. And that's Ridley Gregg, who's a left winger. So another forward. He's seen as a very hard worker. Hard worker. He impresses everybody with his work ethic and playing bigger than his size kind of thing. But the question mark with him is, does he have the top 6 skill? Does he have that top end skill to develop into a top 6 player? So again, because Ottawa has multiple first round draft picks, I can't see why they would pass on Greg here. Because if Greg does develop that top 6 skill, if he does end up being a sleeper in this first round, they end up looking brilliant a few years from now for taking him at 28. 29, and I think I did this just to drive myself insane. This might be a player that I have going here because I think it would be fun to have a jersey with this name on it. Marat Kuznetsov, center. Now, Kuznetsov, how many letters do we have in that last name? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 12. All right, we're good. Cool Hockey on their site, you can only have 15 as the max. So I'm sure. So this is definitely a situation where Kuznetsov being drafted by Dallas, I'd have my fingers crossed, like that'd be great. Or we'll just call him MK. As my guess is by the time he reaches the NHL, he's just going to be MK if he reaches the NHL. And that's the thing with him. So he's seen as a skilled forward, likely a late first round draft pick. Dallas is in a position where they can take a bit of a reach and pick a guy who's not going to come into the NHL right away. A guy who probably plays in the KHL for a little while before coming over. And he is KHL bound, which is going to warn some teams off. But the other issue with him has been a consistency issue, which again, with skilled forwards in the draft, you end up probably dropping below some other guys because consistency isn't necessarily there. But I thought, well, Dallas, I could see taking him. At 30, Vegas. Going with a forward. Tyson Forster. Forster, again, I could see him being early second round too. Depends on which list you look at. Right winger. He has a high-end shot, so he's a good offensive player, and it's skating that holds him back a little bit and causes him to be a late first-round pick / early second-round pick. Forster, again, for Vegas, you don't need a guy who's going to play right away. You've already got Glasses on the way. You've got other young players on the way. And you've already got a whole team full of veterans. You can pick a guy who may end up being a home run later, and Forster could very well be that. And again, as I said, I don't know that these picks necessarily would change based on where teams are drafting. I don't know that if Dallas was drafting here and the Islanders were drafting later, if Dallas wouldn't still make that draft pick. So that's what I was trying to look at with these picks since we don't know where they're going to end up. So San Jose is now on the board. And San Jose, with the first round pick they got from Tampa, this is where I have Wallinder. So Wallinder, defenseman, and I think San Jose pulls the trigger, picks up a defenseman, and that's what you get back for Barclay Goodrow. Now, Wallinder, he slid during the season, so he was ranked higher, and he slid during the season. And yet he is seen as a two-way mobile defenseman. So San Jose, who could definitely use a young defenseman on that blue line. I know they're spending a ton of money on their blue line, but they could definitely use a young defenseman there. And yeah, so that's how I close out my round one. But I admit there's players who could get into round one, because at 32 I have Detroit. And I know we're not going to have a standard podium set up and all of them in a room like we normally do with the draft. It's not going to be your standard draft. But if Steve Yzerman could jog all the way up to the podium and announce his pick right away, he would. Because at 32, I have Lukas Reichel being picked up by Detroit. Now, I mentioned in the last video that John Jason Paderka and Reichel, there's a split opinion on which one's actually better between Paderka and Reichel. But it felt like the case was more against Paderka than for Reichel in some of these cases, and yet I saw Reichel as high as 15th on a draft list. So to me, I have Reichel at 30. He did seem to slide during the season. He can kind of do a little bit of everything. The knock on him would seem to be strength, which you can pick up as you get older. And so if Detroit came out of this draft with, I have Raymond in the first round and Reichel in the second round, that's a pretty good haul. That's a pretty good day if you're a Detroit fan. I know it's not as good as if you'd won the draft lottery and you got Lafreniere, but that's a pretty good haul because Reichel could very well be a home run in the second round. This could be like DeBrincat levels if Reichel does develop. And then at 33, Ottawa's back on the board. And what do I have Ottawa picking up? The best player available. At this level in the draft, I think you draft the best player available. And I think of the remaining players, I would have Jake Neighbors as the player. So you have, with Ottawa, that's the third forward I have them drafting in the first 33 picks. Jake Neighbors, left winger. On Neighbors, they say he'll play in the NHL. He's definitely going to play in the NHL, he projects. But where? The skating is the issue with him, and it's a matter of if his skating gets up to speed, literally, then he could end up being a guy who plays a top 6/top 9 role. If not, it's going to be a challenge. But he should be an NHL level player. This is one of those safe picks. And when it's your fourth pick and it's 33rd overall, a safe pick is not a bad idea. Really not a bad idea. And it'd be 3 forwards that they're adding to go with a defenseman in Drysdale. And Ottawa, I think, honestly, we would already be crowning them as winners at the draft if this was what they did. 34, San Jose again, and I'm going with another defenseman. And he's in the U.S. National Development Team program. Tyler Clevin, physical defenseman, mean defenseman. So with Wallinder, you've got the more of the skill two-way defenseman, and with Clevin, you've got the mean defenseman who's going to go out there and mix things up a little bit physically, and definitely take care of things out there. And there are some scouts who see him as being better than Barron, who say Clevin is a better player than Barron, and then there are others who see Barron ahead of Clevin. Now he is a puck-moving defenseman as well. But how good? So that's the one perceived weakness, is that he can move the puck, but he could move it better. And so that's the issue is this a guy who's just going to be big and mean, a bottom 2 guy, or is he going to develop into the top 4? How that puck moving develops will decide it. But yeah, so I have San Jose with both of their picks taking defensemen, because why not? And I know people are going to say, well, they had trouble scoring. Right, but you're late in the draft. You're not going to get a Rossi type prospect here. Yes, Reichel, I could see it being Reichel and Clevin as well, but I went with Wallinder and I went with Clevin, and I said, you know what, that way they're getting their mobile 2-way defenseman and they're getting their mean potential top 4 defenseman as well. That big, strong, physical guy. So at 35, the LA Kings, and the Kings are going to the blue line as well at 35. Ryan O'Rourke on the blue line. So Ryan O'Rourke, he played a ton in the Sioux. He's their captain, played on a bad team and did his best on a bad team. And the question mark with O'Rourke is he overhyped? So that's why I didn't throw him into the first round. I thought, if there's some concern about him maybe being a bit overhyped, I'll put him early in the second round. I can't see him getting past that level of the round. And O'Rourke, yes, for people who might say, well, wouldn't San Jose maybe take him? Potentially. And this is where things could get interesting, is that all these California teams, if they did pick defensemen, we could start looking, a few years down the road and say which one picked the right defenseman and which one. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. So at 36, Anaheim. Who I had take Mishak there. They finally take a defenseman, and it's Helge Grans that they take at 36. And again, you have great diverging opinions on Grans. Big, good skater. So he's got the physical, he's got the size. He's considered to be a good skater. And the one thing with Grans, the big overarching issue seems to be he needs to cut down on his mistakes. So again, with defensemen, not a huge surprise that a defenseman that's not in the first round makes some mistakes out there. But his physical tools, his all-around makeup, I think Anaheim would be a good spot for him. So, again, we'll see in a draft as potentially deep as this one. I guess I'll throw in potentially because we don't really know. We didn't know at the 2015 draft just how good that one was going to be. This one's really hyped up as being fantastic. Maybe we end up being wrong. Maybe we look back 10 years from now and say, it was not that big a deal. So at 37, and I knew this was the last one I was going to put on the board, I thought, okay, now this has to be somebody that I can't see dropping off the board, which is why I have to do honorable mentions here as well. Because honestly, there are some other guys here who could absolutely push in. I have Luke Evangelista going to Nashville at 37. This is a pick they got from the New Jersey Devils, and Dale Hunter trusts him. Plays for the London Knights, and Dale Hunter says, yeah, he's my guy. And when Dale Hunter trusts a player, teams are going to pay attention. And depending on which scout you asked, some said he's overrated, and some said, you know what, London Knights players tend to become pretty good NHLers. We definitely are going to take him. He could end up going in the first round. This is how unpredictable this draft is going to be, and I can't wait till October 6th and 7th. Unlike other years, that 2nd through 7th round of the draft, I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue. There are a lot of extra picks. I think there's going to be a lot of trading around of picks, and that's something I could not factor into my mock draft, was trading of draft picks. So honorable mentions, because people are going to ask about who else I think could end up being in this and throwing the whole thing off. Thomas Bordeleau, whose father played in the NHL. The one knock on him seems to be he plays a perimeter game. I could see him being the next one on the board. Sam Colangelo, the one knock on him seems to be the hockey sense side of things, which again, a GM may look at and say, we can fix that. Right coaching. Send everybody to Gary Roberts is my answer. Emil Heineman, high-end skill, but there's some talk as well about whether or not he's overrated in this draft class. Damon Hunt, injury dropped his ranking. If Damon Hunt had played the whole year, it's possible Hunt ends up on this board. Samuel Johansson, what drops Johansson is he's an overager. But sometimes overagers become pretty good NHL players. I've been wanting to do a video on that too, but getting lists of all the overagers when they're drafted is not as easy as I thought it would be. And so, I know some just off the top of my head. I know they can be hit and miss, but Johansson's seen as potentially being a steal. So for a team like Ottawa, for a team like Montreal, who has a ton of draft picks that aren't on this board yet, you can look at a Johansson and go, we've got those extra picks. We can take one on him, and then we can look like geniuses later. Jan Kuznetsov, he can end up being in the first round overall, but he also had his college struggles. So much like Holloway here, he had his college struggles as well, and that may very well drop him down in the overall rankings. Victor Persson wasn't exposed to as many scouts as some of the other guys on the board. So this may very well be that maybe Victor Persson ends up being drafted by, say, the Capitals or St. Louis or something like that because they saw him and other teams didn't. So then everybody gasps and goes, why would they draft him there? Because they saw him and they know what they're getting. Tristan Robbins, I should say. Brad Allen, who was the guy I had on for the live stream last year, compares him to Victor Arvidsson. So that's the comparison he makes. That tells you he could end up being a pretty good player. Arvidsson was a steal in the draft as well when he was drafted. Ronan Seeley was a late riser. Could end up seeing himself on this board as well. Daniel Torgerson plays in all situations. He's a Swiss Army knife type player. And so therefore, it's possible you see him on the board. And the last name I'm going to go over is Ozzy Weisblatt. And Ozzy Weisblatt could end up being a steal as well. That's how good this draft is. So I know there's people who are going to say Shannon hates on this guy because he's not on the board. Shannon hates on that guy because he's not on the board. I don't hate on players. I don't hate on teams anymore. I just cover everything, and that really dulls the hate and the love. It kind of dulls both because I kind of look at it and go, well, there's my job for today. And there you go. Draft picks 1 through 37 are completed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This is where everybody can have fun, make their own mock drafts. And again, I went through 37 because I know a lot of different podcasts, YouTube channels, everything will go to 31. I don't know how many go to 37, but I went to 37. And I could have kept going. There was the possibility. I thought about, maybe I'll go all the way through round 3. And then I thought, no, that's crazy. We're not doing madness when it comes to the draft. No. The madness board for the draft is on day 2. That's where the madness board exists. So, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, and to all the kids that are in the draft. I hope they enjoy this on October 6th and 7th because it can be an incredible experience. And to the kids who don't get drafted, remember, neither did Adam Oates. There are a lot of really, really good players who don't get drafted because sometimes the scouts who put together all these great lists, they're wrong. Sometimes they're just plain wrong. And sometimes it could be just a consensus of we don't like this guy. And then after the draft year, they become something way better than what was expected. So, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. And do hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through you just happened upon this video. All right. I will talk to you again soon.